are some strange updates when it comes to the Iowa caucuses. It's been several days now since the caucuses took place, and after technical issues involving a new app that the Democrats decided to start using for the caucuses, and after releasing partial results little by little, now we have Tom Perez, the head of the DNC, calling for a recanvassing. So what does that mean? Well, on Twitter this morning, he wrote, quote, "Enough is enough. In light of the problems that have emerged in the implementation of the delegate selection plan, and in order to assure public confidence in the results, I am calling on the Iowa Democratic Party to immediately begin a recanvass." Now, as soon as he tweeted that, people were wondering, well, what does that mean? Are they going to redo the caucuses? Are they going to do a recount? I guess there were so many people asking so many questions that Perez subsequently tweeted, "A recanvass is a review of the worksheets from each caucus site to ensure accuracy. The Iowa Democratic Party will continue to report results." So it's different from a recount. A recanvass is a review of the reporting sheets, and there were inconsistencies that we talked about in detail on yesterday's show. Now, Iowa Chairman Troy Price suggested that he is open to recanvassing. However, the DNC doesn't have the authority to order that. Price said that he would do it if there were any candidates or campaigns that demanded it. And sure enough, Pete Buttigieg demanded it, probably because-
Is Price the manager? Did he finally get through?
Pete Buttigieg wanted to speak to the manager, he did do that. And I can understand why Buttigieg would want to do that, because as of this morning, with 97% of the precincts reporting, Bernie Sanders had a slight lead over Buttigieg.
Yeah, although, like, it's right there.
It's right there.
It's a tie.
So before we continue, let me just say, what matters, what counts is pledged delegates. And it appears that Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg will end up with the exact same number of pledged delegates, 11 each. Now, who knows, maybe through this recanvassing situation, things could change. I will see. But when it comes to the popular vote, meaning the number of people who voted for Pete Buttigieg versus Bernie Sanders wins by 6,000 votes.
Yes.
I want to make sure that you all know that. That's what needs to be clarified.
I care more about the SDEs, honestly.
The SDEs don't matter at all.
I don't care.
And the amount of time wasted pontificating about that, and I'm glad that Bernie Sanders called that out, is ridiculous because it doesn't count at all. It means nothing.
Yeah. So a few things. So like, Bernie won the thing where it matters to win. Even there, it's close. Like no one supports Bernie Sanders more than me, but I don't need to be like, no, he got it. Like in the end, it's gonna be basically a tie. Yes, he won, and by the way, his path going forward is a million times better than Pete Buttigieg, which is why I don't care if Pete Buttigieg gets second. He's not gonna be the nominee anyway. But in the end, they're gonna get basically the same number of pledged delegates. And even if it changes, it's gonna go up by 1 for Bernie and down 1 for him. It's nothing, it's like 3% of the delegates you need at the end of the day. I am so sick of Iowa. But in terms of that update from Perez, important things for people to understand. One, not just for this, but it's important that you understand going forward, the DNC does not control the internal workings of these primaries and caucuses.
They do not, no.
The individual state parties do. And so I give that information to you, and you did earlier, so that when you see people spreading conspiracy theories in the future, understand that if there is corruption, it's in the parties in the states. It's not the DNC, they don't control everything. But second of all, when he's like, considering the ongoing problems, I think we should have a recanvass. I don't know about you, but my reaction was, what have you been doing this whole time if not recanvassing?
Exactly.
It's to check the veracity, the authenticity. What were you doing if not doing that? You've had the results for 2 days.
So there have been so many different problems, and I'm gonna list those problems for you in just a moment. But first, a video that I particularly enjoyed today. It features Bernie Sanders asking a question from, a salty sounding reporter. I'm gonna keep it real. The reporter asked, well, look, Buttigieg is saying he won. Why should we believe you when you say that you won? And here's what Bernie Sanders had to say.
Mayor Pete's been declaring a win for days now. Why should people believe your victory speech over his?
Because I got 6,000 more votes. And from where I come, when you get 6,000 more votes, that's generally regarded to be the winner.
Did he win?
No, okay.
Bernie Sanders has never winked in his life.
We're gonna have to watch that again, guys. I'm sorry, but like that
I have to be able
wink,
to see.
what he said, the substance of what he's saying is great. I had originally only heard the audio version of it, but the video is better because look at the swagger. Look at that.
God.
Look at him. He's like, yeah, I'm wearing this snazzy blue sweater. I'm looking good. I'm feeling good. You know what? 6,000 more votes. How about that? How about that?
Who taught Bernie to wink? Who's he been hanging out with? Is this a Cardi B thing?
No, I don't know.
Did Cardi teach him to wink?
I don't know where you've been, but Bernie's been cool AF.
I know he's been cool, but he doesn't generally like, I got 6,000.
No,
yeah, that's good.
That was a great reaction. Now let's get into all the different issues that have come up from the Iowa caucuses, because there are many. So I'm gonna fast forward in the graphics. The trouble began with an app, we've talked about this extensively, that the Iowa Democratic Party used to tabulate the results of the contest. The app was rolled out shortly before caucusing began and did not go through rigorous testing. The problems were compounded when phone lines for reporting the outcomes became jammed, with many callers placed on hold for hours in order to report outcomes. Party officials said the backlog was exacerbated by calls from people around the country who accessed the number and appeared intent on disrupting the process. So people were purposely jamming the phone line.
That must have been just a terrible mistake. Was it like they thought it was dominoes and they were calling in? Like, why would they try to do that?
Well, the people want chaos, right?
Yeah. Well, and also like it's posted on 4chan, and Fox has all day been defending like this campaign by 4chan trolls to destroy it. So like they do 36 to 48 hours of, look at these Democrats, they can't manage the system, it was chaos. Oh, right-wingers did it on purpose? They're okay. These Democrats can't manage, and the Democrats did definitely mess up in a million different ways, but it was compounded by an organized effort of right-wing trolls to try to make it impossible for people to get through on the night.
Look, Fox News is gonna do what Fox News is gonna do,
yeah,
right?
Point it out.
That is, no, I'm glad you're pointing it out, sure, but it's not gonna shame them into behaving differently.
What if I make a meme?
Fox News and the Republican Party, for them, politics is one giant Jello wrestling contest, okay? And so like Democrats will come in and they'll be like, I would like to now have a very classy debate about what's happening in the country. And they're like, no, I'm wearing a white shirt, okay? I'm ready to get in to this giant kiddie pool of Jello and get dirty. That's what Republicans do. I'm sorry for the imagery, but I'm trying to say they're trashy, they're trashy.
Yes.
They're gonna do what they're gonna do, which is why it's so important for Democrats to stop with this incompetence and be on their A game. Don't roll out a stupid app that hasn't been tested weeks before the Iowa caucuses. What are you doing?
And don't post the number publicly where people can access it.
Clowns. So, but by the way, it didn't stop there. There was more. In several precincts, the vote, or the total vote, reported in the final round of the popular vote exceeded the total vote in the first round, even though no one knew should have been allowed into the room between the two rounds. And in some cases, a viable candidate lost support from the first round to the final round, even though supporters of viable candidates in the first round were supposed to be locked into their first choice. So this is the kind of stuff that's been going on, okay? Incompetence, all sorts of weird inconsistencies being reported. And so, look, you're right, they should have been doing the recanvassing immediately once they realized that there were issues and that there were problems.
Well, and just clearly to double down on that, I would love for them to do a press conference where they just describe what they have been doing.
Right.
What has filled the past few days.
I wanna know a lot of things. I wanna know, first of all, who made the decision to give the contract to this shady organization with shady funders? The people behind the app, essentially. How was that decision made? How many bids were included? And how did they even advertise the need for this app, right? How did this come about? I wanna know that. I wanna know the root of that problem.
Their job as a result of it.
Who's losing their job? I mean,
I suspect no one.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you, because people who fail our democracy over and over again seem to get promoted over and over again. And this is, in order to prevent something like this from happening in the future, you need to find out exactly what went wrong and how it went wrong. But more importantly, you need to right this wrong in order to restore faith in our democratic process, because what this does is it discourages people, it demoralizes people, and it also creates a situation where they hand Republicans all sorts of content to attack Democrats on.
And to try to drive them out of the process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's demoralizing.
So one piece of good news, though, is that the Bernie campaign has reported a new giant haul from their fundraising. So let's give you the details on that. Senator Sanders raised $25 million in January. Whew, that's a lot of money for 1 month.
That is a lot of money.
It's crazy. So he plans to use the windfall to immediately buy $5.5 million in television and digital ads across 10 states at a time when some of his rivals are shifting or cutting their existing ad reservations. Now, Joe Biden famously is bad at fundraising, which is incredible because he fundraises from big donors.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the type of support that Bernie Sanders does. Bernie Sanders does not take money from big donors or from super PACs. He only takes money from small dollar donors. And that means, hey, he's got a lot more support. And as a result, he's able to raise a lot more money, even rejecting big dollar donors. The $25 million haul is more money than any other candidate raised in any full quarter during 2019. That's why he's winking.
And it's greased with money. So that is an incredible amount of money. It is record breaking. The only thing bigger than it is Michael Bloomberg, as we discovered this morning, is spending 40% more than that every week on ads than his like Q3 or Q4 numbers. Every week he just throws it into ice cream ads and dog snout grabbing and stuff like that.
That's right, and he hasn't really been challenged on his record because he hasn't had to answer for anything yet.
We've got some a little bit later on.
But we will focus on Mike Bloomberg quite a bit in today's show.
Well, and on the fundraising, so that was January, that was before the caucus. I am going to predict that this week will be the single largest week for donations to Bernie Sanders. I know that he had a lot in his first week, he had a lot after he had the heart attack. But this, I think the frustration that drove, it's one of the reasons why I know everyone's freaking out about how this might have hurt Bernie. I'm not worried about that at all. The media has been 100% focused on Iowa for more days than it would have been under normal circumstances. And he's the winner, which means that people are seeing that. I just saw polls showing that the majority of voters are more likely to vote for Bernie after the Iowa caucus, so it hasn't hurt his chances. Everyone's interested in him. He leads in that metric in terms of who has had an increased number of people who want to vote for them. And he is going to raise more money than Mike Bloomberg can spend in a day or two.
Yeah, look, the big takeaway is that if you are a Bernie Sanders supporter, you cannot allow what's happening at this very moment to discourage you or make you feel demoralized. You got to keep going out there, get active, do some canvassing yourself, make some phone calls, do phone banking, because regardless of what happened in Iowa, first of all, he did pretty well in Iowa. Biden did terribly in Iowa, and more importantly, things are looking good for him moving forward, especially in New Hampshire. So focus on the positive, keep fighting, don't get complacent, but just know that if we fight hard enough, we'll win. And I do have a poll question to ask you guys if you're interested in participating. It does have to do with Pete Buttigieg claiming victory prematurely. And so the poll question is, if it turns out Pete Buttigieg didn't win Iowa, will the media ever hold him accountable for falsely calling himself victorious? You can take this poll by going to tyt.com/Iowa, tyt.com/Iowa, and you have two options there, yes or no.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, we really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.